Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you within the next 2 minutes, and you can keep watching after 2 minutes, why Bitcoin, I believe, will hit 10,000 or even below. But I do believe it will go down from $41,784 per coin as of January 11th, today, to $10,000 at some point within 2022. Number one, inflation, according to Peter Schiff, is currently at 15%. And it's a lot more than the 6 to 7% the Fed says it is currently. That's number one. Inflation is rampant. It's going to be very difficult, even with the quantitative easing ending in a couple of months, and 3 to 4 Federal Reserve interest rate hikes, increases for inflation to be tamed. We still have global supply chain shortages or breakdown. We have key labor shortages, and profits have only been propped up because there's one article I'll read you below. Almost a fifth of all U.S. dollars were created in 2020 and 2021. Okay, almost 1/5 of all U.S. dollars were created within the past 2 years. The Fed and Congress pumped in a total of $10 trillion into the economy. This has allowed corporations to increase the price of goods and services far beyond inflation and get record profits. All of this, by the way, is the fault of, almost all of it is the fault of the Democratic Party and Republicans who went along with the absolutely insane notion that you could end economic activity to save people. A couple of years ago, they said, let's end all economic activity, and then we'll be... All the experts said it was too soon, too soon. Well, if it was the DNC primary, you better believe they had people in Wisconsin under rain and snow. But actual, economic activity, no. We had to kick Trump out. Of course, that wasn't the real goal. It was to save people. Of course, I believe that. But anyway, you have... Share this segment with anyone, even if you think, anyone who has Bitcoin, even if you think I'm 2% accurate, or, there's only a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% chance. I think that it would help. I don't want this to happen. I think that this segment will help people perhaps get a different perspective. I respect investors in Bitcoin and digital currencies, cryptocurrency. I respect the philosophy behind it. But because of its speculative nature, when the Federal Reserve ends quantitative easing and they cease to continue the buying of debt, the purchasing of debt, that's going to end. The QE is going to end in a couple of months. They're going to stop. The Fed is going to stop adding to its balance sheet. Then there's going to be 3 to 4 interest rate hikes. Okay, there's an article here from AARP that it's really, really good. How the Fed's rate hikes will affect your finances. And you might think, well, I'm invested in Bitcoin, I'm young. Well, no, this is actually very interesting. The Fed projects that it will hike its key fund rates 3 times in quarter-point increments in 2022. It sees the Fed fund rate now pegged at 0 to 0.25%, climbing to 2.1% by the end of 2024. They might get there sooner. Inflation is rampant. The Dow could get to 20,000. We're going to have a devastating stock market crash. The market could go up the next couple of months, people. Bitcoin could go back up to 60,000 and then crash to 10,000. The market could go up 4,000 more points. Okay. Bitcoin right now is at 41,784. I think it's going to hit 10,000. Now, you might say, you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I don't. Dow Jones is at 36,068. I think it could easily go to 20,000. Why? You're very likely going to have a problem with derivatives trades leading to bankruptcies of hedge funds. I write about that in The Federalist. Read my article in The Federalist on the upcoming stock market crash. When the market crashes, and even before that, when the Fed increases interest rates and stops pumping money into the economy through quantitative easing, you have all of these, and when inflation continues, no matter what they do, why would inflation suddenly grind to a halt because they've raised interest rates when you have labor shortages in key industries and you have a broken global supply chain? Why? It makes no sense. And you have like hundreds of thousands, millions of people. You've displaced millions of workers because 2 years ago, the Democratic Party, media, all the experts said, no, we have to tank the economy. We must. It's for your own good. But and I don't want this to happen because there's so many good people who are invested in Bitcoin. Everyone is. And I don't want anyone to lose money. And if the stock market doesn't crash and Bitcoin continues to go up and everything's fine, you know what? Fantastic. You can say, H.A. Goodman, you don't know anything. I did say that Hillary Clinton would lose to Donald Trump. Nobody was saying that. I said that the Trump-Russia thing was completely fabricated from day one. My analysis on the stock market has been pretty spot on. Everyone is now, there is a viewpoint now that's prevalent that states we are, and people smarter than me, people wealthier than me, and people with a lot more experience than I have are saying that we are heading towards an absolute catastrophe. Now, read my Federalist article. When the stock market crashes, Bitcoin will crash sooner or faster or harder. Cryptocurrencies in general, all the digital currencies, not just Bitcoin. But that's the most, that's the one most people love. When inflation hits the pocketbooks of most Americans, it already has. But with stimulus checks no longer, pumping money into the economy, when Congress isn't pumping, it's a total of $10 trillion, so $6 trillion from Congress and close to $4 trillion from the Federal Reserve, if I have my numbers correct. All of that money to replicate or duplicate economic activity, because initially Democrats wanted to kick Trump out of office and wanted this political, they wanted the political points. It was expedient for them to say, oh, look, we're going to fight for an eviction moratorium. Well, you also prevented people from working. And you're still obsessed with 2 years later. You're definitely wonderful experts. We should definitely listen to you all the time on everything. You've been so right. We're heading towards a financial catastrophe. Now, I talk about a lot of things, politics, a whole bunch of Alec Baldwin segments, because he ended someone's life 2 feet away with a very powerful revolver, didn't check the firearm, didn't have the armor in the church. There was a protest of camera crew right before the cinematographer lost her life. The firearms were left out on a tray for 10 minutes unattended. And a whole litany of other issues. And then he blames the cinematographer. It's like, But, she told me. It's like, well, what did the director and the assistant director say? Anyway, I'm going to start doing more of these because I do think that there is a philosophical issue if if you listen to Peter Schiff, and there's others too, and the article, I mean, it's not just me who thinks that. There's an article about Bitcoin hitting 10,000 in Yahoo. I'll put the 15% inflation article from Forbes. I'll put the Fed will double pace of tapering. So by the end of the first quarter, they're going to stop adding to the balance sheet. They're going to end by March of 2022 the tapering completely. I mean the quantitative easing completely. This is like the perfect imperfect, the most horrible scenario possible. All the free money that was pumped into the economy to replicate economic activity is grinding to a halt. Inflation is going to continue to spiral upwards. People are eventually not going to pay the increase in prices for goods and services that have led to record profits. There are record profits now because $1 out of $5 has been created. That article will be below. Through quantitative easing and fiscal stimulus, through Congress and the Federal Reserve. People had enough money to pay for goods and services, even with rampant inflation and even with the profit margin increasing and corporations just making things a lot more expensive just to make money. But inflation is going to continue, and when the interest rates increase, people are going to pay more every month for credit card. Their monthly credit card payments, their balances, student loans, everything is, well, student loans I'm not sure, but everything is going to be more expensive if you've borrowed money. And a lot of people are overleveraged. So when AOC and others, when Elizabeth Warren finally finds out that, Dodd-Frank didn't yet, has not yet regulated derivatives trades, and you have more Archegos hedge funds that get $30 billion in margin debt. By the way, hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below. I'm going to do a segment on this today as well on the Stock Market Crash channel. By the way, yesterday I explained somebody on Gmail is breaking the law and pretending to be me. For what reason, I have no clue. But they have the beginning of an email that I hardly use. It's Goodman and then Dodd. I'm not going to tell you the whole email, but it's my profile pic, my name that they're utilizing. And that, of course, is breaking the law. Anyway, I explained that on the Stock Market Crash channel. Hit subscribe there to my new Patreons. I can't do this without you. Go ahead and share this segment with anyone who might find it useful. I think that if you're invested in Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency and you don't have enough money in the bank and in savings or in cash to kind of weather any storm, if for example, if God forbid you needed, if you were retiring, or if you are in your 20s or 30s and you don't have enough money to pay the rent because it's all tied up in Bitcoin, because you think that you've made a great deal of money, and well, you should probably take some profits off the table and make sure you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of savings in case times get bad, and it's only a matter of time before the party is over. This was a self-induced wound, an absolute catastrophe, because the smartest people in the room, the most apoplectic, hysterical, irrational people who happened to be experts and extremely educated, said we needed to end all economic activity. The average age of the U.S. labor force is around 42 years old. Now, I'm not going to get into the math regarding healthy 42-year-olds. I'm not even going to go there. And I'm not even going to go to the age group that has suffered the most from you-know-what. It's not the U.S. labor force. We have tanked the entire economy, and we're still feeling the repercussions of it. And by the way, we still don't have. Have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen? We still don't have a functioning economy. It's not functioning. The global economy is not functioning. If you continue to play games with an economic ecosystem where there are so many moving parts, and you make these arbitrary rules and guidelines that harm economic growth and wealth generation and all of that, and force people out of restaurants and businesses that they've worked in for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and you expect that, you'll just be fine eventually, as nothing's really going to happen. You know what? As long as, psychologically you're feeling okay with continually introducing new laws and guidelines into the economy, well, we're heading towards an absolute catastrophe. And it's going to affect Bitcoin, and it's going to affect the Dow and stocks, equities, NASDAQ, S&P. In my humble opinion, and I keep saying this, and whether 2,000 or 3,000 people view this, or 30,000 people view this segment or more, or whatever, if I was retiring, if I'm in my 70s or 80s, and I'm retiring, I would not be in the stock market or Bitcoin or any equities. I would not do that. Even if the market goes up, the market could go up the next 2 months. It's not the crash could happen this month. It could happen in June or July. I don't know. It'll happen this year almost certainly. And it's not going to be good, because you're going to have people who look and say, oh my God, I've lost 80% of my wealth. And then the panic will set in. And like I said, I don't want that to happen. You're watching this right now. It's January 11th, 2022. I want to be wrong on this. Hey, I thought Madam Secretary would be the Democratic nominee. Okay, I'm not right about everything. Instead, they got mashed potato brains. So, what do I know? I thought Hillary Clinton would be the nominee. I'm not right about everything. She'd actually be a better president than Biden, although I would choose Trump 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 times. But Hillary Clinton would be a better president than mashed potato brains. But, again, I would still choose Trump, obviously. But, again, you know what? Take this for what it is. My speculation, my concern, and the worries that I have, because we have deliberately tanked our economy. Why did we do this? Why? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Like I said, I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be right. And I hope I'm wrong. And I don't want anyone to lose money. But if you don't have enough money saved up to weather any financial crisis within the next year, take profits off the table and please make sure you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months of savings, of cash, to make sure that you can pay the rent, and you could pay your bills, and you can pay for food and clothing and live. Especially if you've made a profit. And if you do that and the market continues to go up, don't worry about that. A roller coaster doesn't start on the way down. It goes way up, and then potentially, I think Bitcoin's going to reach 10,000, and I think the Dow could get to 20,000 or below. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now to this channel, to my new Patreons. Thank you. Subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. I'll have a very, very good segment on Bitcoin today. Thank you so very,